All right, Steelers Nation, if you are ready to watch the black and gold take care of business today, let me hear you make some noise. Now, y'all do know it's a division game today, right? Sunday, 1 o'clock, Acrisure Stadium, the best place to be. I'm going to need a little bit more energy from you today, all right? So let's try this one more time. If you are ready to watch the black and gold take care of business today, let me hear you make some noise. Now it's a party. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Arthur Moats, retired linebacker of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I will be your host for today's interview. And let me just say, I'm excited to talk to this guy right here because he came into the NFL in 2008 when he signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers as an undrafted free agent out of Marshall University. And after coming into the NFL, he enjoyed an 8-year career, with 6 of them being right here with the black and gold as one of my teammates. And then he had 1 year in Buffalo with the Bills, also as my teammate, and 1 year with the San Diego Chargers. But during that time, he played in 75 games, making 30 starts, and he started at center for the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl 45. So please, without no further ado, make some noise for number 64, Doug Legursky.
Thank you for having me, buddy.
Come on.
He's quite the host, isn't he, man? Good job, Moats. Let's give a hand to Moats here, boy. He thought he was going to get away with embarrassing me.
And look, you missed the shout-out, right? So those that don't know, being this guy's teammate multiple years, the life of the party, always a blast to be around, but he always wants the shout-out, so we had to make sure that we get you the right introduction today, man.
So you guys don't know, but when we're in the locker room and even on the sidelines, we're always getting interviewed, right? There's interviews for press, there's interviews for media, all that stuff. And so you got to make fun with it every once in a while. So I started telling guys in the locker room, hey, shout me out in their interview. So basically, they're talking about not offensive line stuff, and also Doug Legursky is a great teammate, right? And it got to where people couldn't even do interviews anymore in the locker room because everybody was ripping shout out. Hey, shout me out. And I used to get on Moats all the time, man. There's some quotes every once in a while we'll make it into, hey, the starting defense is doing out, and they also wanted to show Doug Legursky some love. But it would make it into the media, and we knew we were successful in our mission.
Hey, that's why we always love Doug, man. Always brings the great energy. Now, as I was prepping for this interview, man, I'm seeing where you were born in Frankfurt, Germany, but obviously you played your high school ball at Woodrow Wilson High School up in West Virginia. Just talk about what you remember from Germany, and more importantly, what was your high school football experience like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was born in Germany. So most people are like, you were born in Germany? What's going on? My dad was in the military. And I was born on a military base, and I moved back home to Beckley, West Virginia when I was very young. What do I remember from Germany? 0, right? But I know that I was born on that military base, and we even moved around a little bit more before my dad left the military. We ended up getting settled back in my parents' hometown, Beckley, where they always kept his parents were there, my mom's parents were there. And so I grew up in southern West Virginia, a lot different than Pittsburgh. And so, and we decided to move back home even recently. After I retired from Pittsburgh, we even stuck around here for a number of years. But the Lord was calling us to go back home and to set up roots and raise our kids the way we were raised, and to be able to raise them and help out the kids that are in southern West Virginia.
No, I love that right there. And now, while you were playing, in Beckley, West Virginia, you weren't just any type of offensive lineman. You were named the best lineman in the whole state of West Virginia coming out. Talk to me about your college recruitment process and how you ended up going to Marshall University.
I want to know who's your research department. Like, what is this like? This isn't just Wikipedia, is it? So, yeah, I grew up in, like I was saying, we played ball in Beckley, West Virginia. And West Virginia in and of itself isn't known for the high caliber athletes, right? Not too many Division I guys come out of West Virginia. There's a handful, right? And so going into my junior year, that's kind of where the recruitment starts, right? Different colleges will start sending you letters. It starts, getting courted with that. And this was long before the NIL deals and things like this. So this is back when they used to show up at your door or come to your high school football games, call you on the phone. And so my junior year, I was getting courted by a couple different teams. And I remember I got a phone call from Coach Pruitt, who was the head coach at Marshall University, who was also a Beckley guy. He was from Beckley, West Virginia. Coach Pruitt is one of the most winningest college coaches in the 90s, had 2 Division II national titles. He called me and he said, I'm from Beckley, you're from Beckley. He's like, you're coming to Marshall. And I said, yes, sir, I'm going to Marshall. And for some reason, that always settled with me. I was still getting looked at by other schools like Ohio State, Pittsburgh, Michigan, but I told him, I ended up telling my coach, I said, if anybody else calls, just tell them I'm going to Marshall. And from my junior year on, I was just committed to going to Marshall. And I knew that's where I wanted to be. It settled with me, and I was excited to do that. And to get to play close to home was a nice treat. And Coach Pruitt's been a great mentor of mine over the years, and I'll never forget that conversation. You're from Beckley, I'm from Beckley, you're coming to Marshall. Yes, sir.
No, I love that. And it obviously worked out because you were named All-Conference 3 years while you were playing there. Now, we know you didn't get drafted, but take me through your 2008 NFL draft experience and ultimately how you decided to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and, even going to Marshall, right? So, and you'll know this, becoming a rookie, right? You're always restarting. So my first play at Marshall was against DeMarcus Ware. Do you remember DeMarcus Ware?
Absolutely, yes.
My first live snap at Marshall was against him, Troy State, for a sack fumble. Ooh. Yes. And that was his senior year that he got drafted number 1, I think number 1 or 2 overall. And so guess which highlight was replaying 150 times on ESPN?
Very humbling. Very humbling.
So even by the end of my Marshall career, though, right, I'm dialed in, I'm back to the top, right? You're back to the top. You fight to try to be the best player you can be, the best player for your team. You fight to get a chance to go to the next level. So I had a dream to go to the NFL, right? So the draft day is coming. I did everything I can to prepare, do what I can do. And draft day came and went. And I was undrafted, right? So right then, everybody, you think your dreams are crushed. But again, a peek behind the curtain, what happens is the second that the draft is over, there is a feeding frenzy for all the leftovers. And I was one of the leftovers. That's what it's basically, looking at it from my perspective, that's what it was. And I'm in, man. Give me a shot. I'll figure it out. So I showed up to Pittsburgh, first day. I got a first day story. I got to tell you my first day story.
Man, we waiting to hear it.
You're going to love this. I told this outside to some guys over in these tents. So my first day in the locker room, right? Rookies, a notebook this big sitting on my lap. Don't know anybody. Can't talk to anybody because you're all nervous, right? Sitting in our locker around all the vets, 45, 50 vets dapping each other up, man, happy to see each other. We're all just sitting there nervous, all the rookies right in a row. So we got a team meeting in 20 minutes. So I'm going to be that kid. I'm going to go to the bathroom early, and I'm going to go sit in my meeting room, and I'm going to be early, right? So I go to the bathroom in a urinal, 15 urinals in a row. Nobody's in there because it's 20 minutes before the meeting. So I just pick a random urinal. Out of the corner of my eye, I see majestic Troy Polamalu hair coming around the corner. And I think, all right, there's Troy. That's nice. He's here. And he stands right in the urinal right next to me. All these open urinals. So all the guys in here know what I'm talking about, right? That's weird. All the females.
You know the rules.
That's weird, yeah. So I'm like, no way, dude, this guy. All right. I guess so. And so I'm sitting there, still taking care of my business. All of a sudden, I feel something. I look down, and Troy Polamalu is peeing on my foot. Right? Dude, I pull back, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? And he creeps over and starts laughing, and he's got a Gatorade bottle that he'd punched a hole in the top and is squirting it on my foot. Dude. And I started laughing. I was like, oh, my gosh. He was like in school. So how sweet Troy is. He's like, what were you thinking? Like, what are you? And I was like, you're Troy Polamalu, buddy. I was like, you could have peed in the middle of the locker room and I wouldn't have said a word to you, buddy. But that was my first 30 seconds in the NFL locker room. So I knew I was in for a rough awakening there.
No, love, man, that's an awesome story right there. And anybody that knows Troy could definitely see him doing that. Sure. Absolutely. Shout out to Troy, man.
Yeah, shout
out to Troy. But you get into the NFL, and we have a transition, right? You go from, like we talked about, being all conference, being a player that dominated high school and collegiately, to now your first year, you're on the practice squad. Talk about what was that adjustment like for you personally, going from being the guy that was always one of the best players to now being on the practice squad for your first time ever?
Yeah, we talked about that, like coming in Marshall, being the bottom of the barrel. Even in high school, you're always at the bottom, working your way to the top. Going to college now, you're back at the bottom, working your way to the top. Now coming into the NFL, I was cut 3 times in my first 6 months in Pittsburgh. I was cut right after rookie minicamp. I was cut right after in training camp, and I was cut back. And then I was trying out for the Grand Rapids Rampage. I was trying out for an arena team. And I was watching, the tryout was on Tuesday morning. I was in the hotel at Grand Rapids, Michigan on Monday watching the Steelers on Monday Night Football. And Kendall Simmons got injured. Kendall Simmons was our starting right guard, a great player, great guy. He got injured, and I didn't think too much about it. Who knows what happened, rolled his ankle. And I go to that tryout, and in the middle of the tryout, their GM gets a phone call, and it was Doug, it was Whaley. He said, "Don't take another snap, get over here." And I showed up back in Pittsburgh with a backpack full of the sweaty clothes I was wearing and one change of clothes. And I spent the next 5 years there, right? So that first year, again, back at the bottom of the barrel. Practice squad. Are you part of the team? Are you not part of the team, right? It's like you're part of the team during the week and then you're watching the game on Sundays. But to be humble enough to say, hey, no matter where I'm at, right, being blessed enough to have that chance and to keep working every day. And then I just start making little successes, right? Little working my way in there. Hey, they can trust me. They know I can be a good backup. Working my way in. All of a sudden, I'm the backup center. Now I got a hat on Sundays. So for you guys that don't know, there's 53 guys on a roster. You only dress 45 guys. There's 8 guys that are on the NFL roster that are sitting in jeans on the sideline. And to have a hat is just that much more, right? That next step. All the way to earning a starting position, right? Earning a start position, being a major contributor, and it's just that ebb and flow of those football games. And, I always look at it like a totem pole. You always start at the bottom, right? But if you keep working hard, you can work your way up to being a contributor on the team. Now, I'm also not sitting here thinking that I was some amazing, great player, right? But I knew what I needed to do, and my job was to be on the field and to be a contributor and to be in there and be plugged in anywhere they needed me, and we don't miss a beat. And if I can do that, man, I've done my job.
Hey, look, I love your humility, but 75 games, 30 starts, you're doing something right, baby. That's all I'm going to say. Now, speaking of those 30 starts, though, after you make the active roster in year 2, you start getting opportunities to not just dress, but to start as well. What would you say was the biggest difference for you personally, though, going for year 1 where you're on the practice squad to now getting opportunities to get a helmet and start in games?
Yeah, so practice squad, it's all practice, right? You get groomed during the week, and it's like you basically got the weekend off, and you're just trying to make that team, hoping for that chance. So let's take that the next step up. A second team guy, you got a hat on Sundays, but you're not the starter. Well, what's that mean, man? You run scouts all week long. You are running the opponents. I'd be running the Cincinnati's offensive line drill stuff for our guys to get them ready, right? So I'm going against Casey Hampton. I'm going against Kiesel all week. I'm blocking Aaron Smith. Like, my weeks, I'm trying to kick out, block James Harrison. Like, my weeks are tough, dude. I got a tough job those weeks, right? But that made me ready, right? So then you got to think that's a tough job. So then you don't get all the starter reps either, right? When our offense is practicing against our scout team defense that's running Cincinnati's scout team, they're getting all those reps. So that's where you as a backup have to get mental reps. Be prepared to be put in there, but you don't get the physical reps on the field. That was the toughest part, because you got to be ready 100%, but you may not even need to, right? Like the possibility of like, well, maybe I don't have to be as ready. That's the week you get put in there, right? And I'll never forget, it was the AFC Championship week, They were running, that was the Rex Ryan Jets, if you remember them. They were running nickel dime packages as their base defense, and they were coming in quarters. So they were running quarters defense, blitzes that no one has ever seen before. Truly a nightmare for offensive line to figure out how to block. So the amount of mental and physical reps that week, Pouncey got everything. Pouncey got all the reps that week in it because it was a lot to digest, and I didn't get any of them. He goes down first series of the game. Boom, I'm in there, and I'm expected to contribute and to play to the highest level to make it to the Super Bowl, right? Talk about pressure. But I was ready, right? And there's the difference that most people don't know. Some people, man, are you going to be ready when it's your chance? Some people aren't, man, and it bites them hard. And I was blessed enough to be prepared and to be ready and to go in there and get that job done.
And shoot, man, we were excited to see you get that job done because it leads us to, like we talk about, Super Bowl 45. Now, before we get into the game, when did you know that you were going to be starting Super Bowl 45? Because initially it was just ruled as an ankle sprain for Marquise, right?
Yeah, so we talked about that here and there, and I think, after any injury, right, it's like, well, you got to go to the doctor. Like, he got his x-rays, his MRIs that night, basically. I think by that Tuesday, they had already told me, right? They told me, they were like, hey, you're starting. Like, Pouncey's out, but we're not gonna release that. Like, you and Pouncey are the only two guys that know that. And I don't even know if I've even told you guys that before.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and I don't think we told anybody, but I remember our offensive line coach and Coach Tomlin was like, hey, this is what's happening. You're going to be out. You can't play. Pouncey knew it too. He was like, yeah, for real. And he was like, you're going to be starting. He's like, but you can't tell anybody. So the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, there's a bye week, right? And then there's a whole other week, media day. It is a media frenzy during those periods. And of course, we got to field these. Is Pouncey playing? Is he not playing? I got to sit there and do a bunch of white lies like I don't know, But I got to prepare, because I knew. And but that was just a crazy 2 weeks, man. And going into it, I felt horrible for Pouncey, but I was had an opportunity to play, and I was going to make the best of it.
Absolutely. Now you touched a little bit on the mental part of it, but you're not just getting ready to play. This is the Super Bowl, and you're about to start. You got B.J. Raji, Clay Matthews, A.J. Hawk. What's going through your mind as you're preparing to actually go out there for one of the biggest games of your life?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some nerves, right? And, B.J. Raji, I don't know if you guys remember this. That was the year they went from the wild card. B.J. Raji was their nose tackle. He had made a game-changing play in every one of their games. He had a sack fumble that clinched them the game. He had an interception for a touchdown. And I forget the other one. There was something like he was the MVP of the playoffs up to that point. Like him as a nose guard completely made them move on to the next game. And so it was like, okay, Doug Legursky, what are you going to do against that, buddy? You're a backup? Seriously, against B.J. Raji? Good luck, right? And I've always had this mentality, I don't care who I'm going against. If I do what I'm supposed to do right, you can put whoever you want to over there. I know my technique that I do. And so a lot of people don't realize it, right? You might hang out with me and think I'm a big guy. I was the little guy in the locker room. I am the smallest. I was here's a stat they don't tell you. I think out of the 8 years I was in the NFL, 7 of them, I was the smallest NFL lineman in the league. Right?
That's
so I'm
wild,
the
man.
little kid in there, right? So it's I'm not going to overpower these guys. But guess what I can do, man? I can be dialed in on my technique. I can know what you're going to do. I can know exactly based upon that safety rotation and that Sam coming down that you're going to slant across my face. I'm going to take different footwork. And that's the game within the game, within the game, right? You're getting 3-tier deep. That helped me be a better player than what my physical state could allow me to be. And so going into the Super Bowl, going into him, I was like, dude, whatever I got to do, I'm playing my own game, right? And it's me versus myself. I got to play the best that I can play. And it didn't come out our way, man. But, and Coach Kugler, I always appreciated Coach Cougs. He was our offensive line coach. And that next year, he had because I didn't really emotion at the time, but he was like, hey, Doug, he was like, B.J. Raji made plays every week going into that game. I was like, do you know how many tackles he had in the Super Bowl? He was like, 0, dude. He was like, you did a great job. And so that was like my, I knew watching film, and you hear things online and all that stuff, and we lost, so of course we didn't do our job. But Coach Cougs gave me a shout out, and I was like, all right, I at least had a good game,
Well, and shoot, not just that. You even think about Mendenhall's performance. That was one of his best rushing performances in the playoffs, and that's what you start at center. But just speaking of the game, actually in the game, playing in a Super Bowl, what was it like, though? We talk about the lead up to it. We obviously know the outcome, but actually when the game starts and you're taking these snaps, play in and play out, what's that experience like?
The only difference, I can tell you, the only difference is that time right before you go back on the field. So, if you'll watch the game today, you'll see if kickoff returns out there, you'll see the offensive guys start to go down to where the ball is going to be received. You'll see them start to huddle on the sideline, right? Right then, you're about to run on the field to go to your next series, and it's like, oh, crap. Like, the weight of the Super Bowl is on you. Like, oh, man, like let's do this. All right, remember all my points, remember my coach, and, let's go. Like, it's just another game. Like, boom. But once you run on that field, it's like, man, let's go. You go into muscle memory, right? And I do remember, it's kind of like you have, those third down plays where you got to have it. You know what I mean? Like that goal line stand where this one's got to be it.
Got to have it,
right?
Yes.
There's that different mentality that happens, and I don't even know if you can explain it to somebody that hasn't been in there, right? It's that this has to work moment. It's like that every play. Like you had that every play. Like there was that little added pressure. Not that it was any more than there should be or could be, right? But it felt like a common theme throughout the game was that, fourth down and short, we got to get it. If we get this first down, we win the game, right? Type moment throughout the whole game. I slept well. I was very tired after that much pressure.
So outside of the final score, which we obviously know we didn't get the victory, what would you say you remember the most from that whole process? Whether it's the lead up, during the game, or afterwards, what do you remember the most about Super Bowl 45?
I remember the lead up to it the most. I remember a few plays here and there. I remember being in the locker room after the game. Like that was tough. But I really cherished the experience of those 2 weeks. Traveling with the team, right? Traveling with the team, being in the hotel room for the week, practicing at a different facility, enjoying each other like at a different place, right? You've been in Pittsburgh, down on the south side for 25 weeks. It was nice going somewhere else and then fellowshipping with each other. Our families, all of our families got to come up a few days before the game and having that experience, right? I just really thought that was just very, very, it was just nice, very cherished memory. The other thing I remember is, when we said it earlier, that media frenzy, right? Dude, I shut down Facebook. Ain't on that no more. I had to turn off my phone. It was like all consuming. The world blew up around me, right? And especially me. Like, I'm usually the background guy. Like, they're interviewing everybody else. And us offensive linemen, we're over here yelling for shout-outs so we can get in the paper, right? But I was a main storyline, right? Is Pouncey going to play? Can Doug Legursky even do it if he can, right? That was a main storyline. So, I was getting more, attention than I normally would. And I didn't like that at all. Us offensive linemen, we're like, dude, interview those guys. I'll yell at the sideline for you, but I didn't like that.
Well, with that, though, throughout your career, right? 8 years, 75 games, 30 starts. We talk about starting in the Super Bowl as well. What would you say was your favorite play from your career, though?
Gosh, my favorite play? Oh, I got 2 of them. They're in the same game.
Let's go.
So we talked about when you're a practice squad guy, right? We talked about when you're a backup. When you're a starter, the preseason is awesome. Preseason's awesome when you're a starter, right? So the first preseason game, you get one series. It's like, dude, your day's over. You're having the best day ever. Sitting on the sideline watching these rookies battle.
Eat your sunflower seeds. Get your backwards hat. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. Sunflower seeds are in, dude. It's the best sideline experience, right? Week 2, you play maybe a quarter. Week 3, you maybe play in the second half. Week 4, you get another series, but you're basically shut down. We played Detroit the year I started at right guard, and Willie Colon was my right tackle. And we had one series. If we did good that series, we were going to do one series. And me and Willie had a double team block. We call it a deuce, where we double team the 3 technique. And me and Willie laid this guy out, literally destroyed this dude. Until after the play, Willie pushes me real tough, like he was mad at me. I was like, oh no, like what did I do wrong, Willie? And he was like, that's what I'm talking about. Because he knew we just won the rest of the day off, basically. And because he was filling me out too, right? That was my first year being starter. And I was like, this is awesome. Yeah, dude, Willie, I got your back, buddy. So that whole series, I remember that series playing. There was a couple plays that we just did really good on. And that was always a good feeling. And then to go back and know, man, hey, I'm a starter. The backups are in now, man. I'm undoing my shoulders, and I can enjoy this game. I can enjoy watching these young guys that I was in just a couple years ago, right? I was there, man. And look, now I'm getting ready for a 16-week grueling season with my guys over here, us joking around, and that's the stuff that I miss and I remember the most, are those in between the snap moments that you can really appreciate the guys you played with. Me and you, man, the battles that we've been through on both our teams, right?
Absolutely. Whether you talk about Pittsburgh, Buffalo, the locker room, in between, that's why you're one of my favorite guys to be around. You see how we light up when we're around each other, man.
Yeah, of course, buddy. Man, and no team's ready for us to be in that locker room.
Come on, man. Absolutely. Now, the final question I have for you, and then after that, we'll open it up to the crowd if y'all have any questions for Doug as well. But we always talk about that moment when we realize we're no longer in college, this isn't high school, we're in the big leagues. And we typically, have that experience where these guys are bigger, stronger, faster, hit a little bit harder too. And we call it our welcome to the NFL moment. If you could, talk about your welcome to the NFL moment.
James Harrison.
D-Bo.
Dude. So we're at practice. Even in his shoulder pads, he would wear smaller shoulder pads to where, like, he had a muscle up here that I didn't even know most guys had that would stick out of his shoulder pad, right? This guy is a monster, as you guys know. So we have a play, we call it like 35 part. So basically the right guard pulls and has to kick out the defensive end, right? Totally easy. So get a 5-yard running start and hit this guy that's standing still. Like, I'm going to kick this guy's butt, right? Dude, I pull and I hit him. It is honestly like I hit that brick wall right there. He did not move. Like, I don't even think his helmet shifted. Like, he did not move. And it was like I hit that wall and bounced off of him. And I was like, what in the world? Because I'd been pulling like a college player, right? Like,
absolutely.
That you can get away with that. Like, you haven't learned that you've got to give it 150% and your technique's got to be perfect. And you've got to be lower than him, right? He squatted down and he dropped his shoulder right into me. And I thought, oh boy, I'm in for a rough week. I'm in for a rough career if this is what it's going to be like. So that's one of many. I could probably tell you 10, 12 more that happened throughout. Casey Hampton's another one, dude. One-on-one block, Casey Hampton, drive block. It's like Casey, he was two
big
gaps
snack.
wide. Big snack. Yeah, so that was my welcome to the NFL, trying to kick out block James Harrison that didn't move.
Hey, well, you're not alone, all right? James Harrison has been a part of a lot of people's welcome to the NFL moment, so no worries on that. But with that being the case, now we will open it up. If you have any questions for Doug Legursky, now we got time, baby. Absolutely. Any questions? Oh, I hear the we are Marshall.
Oh, yeah, Marshall.
Let's go.
I saw you, I know.
If I say questions, man. Any questions? There we go. Come on over. Say your name, please.
Tom. So I joined a little bit late. You might have already mentioned this. So what are you doing now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I moved back home to West Virginia, where me and my wife are both from. And so I have got the toughest job in the world right now. I'm a stay-at-home dad. Yeah. And so, dude, it's rough stuff. Yeah. And so, but I do a lot of community things. So I coach high school football. My son's getting into high school. I coached him when he was in middle school, and I moved up to the high school team. The team that I played for, the head coach now was my offensive line coach when I was there. And I just wanted to give back. So I coach offensive and defensive line there. I take care of the kids. I shuffle them to all their sports. And I'm on a bunch of community boards, the local YMCA, the hospital board and stuff. And so I've really just, I've been so blessed in my life with people in the community around me that helped me. And I'm just trying to give back as much as I can.
And when he doesn't want to do all those other things, he just comes up here and joins me for an interview. All right?
Yeah,
So shout out to you, man. We got time for one more question, though, for Doug. One more final question. All right.
It's for both of us, you said.
My name is Debbie, and I am wondering what you think of the NIL in college sports.
That's a great question.
In college sports. You
first, me? The question was, what do we think about the NIL in college sports? I think twofold. I think it is very similar to what I believe NFL fans first thought when free agency came to the NFL, right? Like all the old heads that still call it the LA Raiders now, you know what I mean? When they were the Oakland Raiders and now it's back in. But I remember hearing stories about when free agency first started in the NFL, everybody's like, this is a disaster, it's ruined for everyone. Now it's commonplace. Just my opinion, I think NIL deals are one of the worst things that has happened to college sports, and I think it's opened up a Pandora's box that will never be able to close again, and I think it is a overall disaster. Is that nice? That's the nicest I can put it.
I love how you were politically correct with it. I would also piggyback on that and just say when you create something out of desperation, right? Because there was an issue prior to NIL. Now you have an overcorrection of it, and there aren't any guidelines around it, no ramifications to make people accountable for their word. So just when you're trying to build rosters, keep legacies, and even just what we knew as recruitment, none of that is the same. So it doesn't just affect the rosters as we see them today. It affects those high school kids as well. All of that has been, the byproduct of the NIL, and until we see some type of organization or guidelines with it, I also don't see it changing in this kind of the trend we're going to be going in. So it's unfortunate, but here we are, right? So hopefully things will change for the better going forward, though.
And the recruitment part of that, right? So being a high school coach like I am now, I'm trying to learn that environment. You call Marshall up, hey man, I got this guy. They're like, we don't touch freshmen. Like, why would we get a freshman incoming from high school that's still has his parents paying for his cell phone when I can get so-and-so in the transfer portal that's been in college for 2 years and knows how to be self-sufficient, right? So even in that, I think it's hurt young football players overall. And it's a new environment, right? Like even me, I'm like, what do you mean? Like that kid's D1. You're like, dude, he's not 25 D1. Like, I don't even know how to say how good a high school kid is anymore. And then I wonder would I have been D1, right? It's like, maybe I would have been that guy that didn't get a chance because I didn't come from anything.
And honestly, that's where we are right now with it. So here we are, but we'll continue that conversation another day.
Yeah,
we can talk more
end on a sour note. Does somebody have a good question? Like, not that was a bad question. A more uplifting question?
But to say, if not, we do got a game to get ready for if you're ready.
Oh, we ready.
Okay, because if you're ready, you know how we got to end this thing, all right? So, ladies and gents, that will conclude today's interview, but I need two things. Number one, round of applause for Doug Legursky.
Round of applause for Moats. Shout out.
And as you already know, what do we say on game day? Here we go, Steelers, here we go.